welcome to Scorched and a general reading for the sign of Aries, Sun, Moon and Ascendant for the month of November. I hope you're well. In the best tradition of Mercury retrograde, I have started this video 3 times. We've got no more than 30 seconds into it before dropping an F-bomb and, going to get myself barred off YouTube if I keep doing that. So, let's try and keep the language clean, at least for the first 2 minutes of the video. My Capricorn one got taken down twice before I took it off and bleeped it last month, so I'm trying to be a bit more careful. So, Mars retrograde, how is it affecting you? It's been awful for me. Obviously I'm a fire sign too, I'm not an Aries, but I've been feeling it. I've been talking to some people on Instagram who are Aries and they say it's pretty dire. Like, lots and lots of energy, but nowhere to let it go, you know? The power's there, the energy's there, but there's no direction for it at the moment. I, conversely, probably would have slept quite happily for the last 2 months, but there we are. So, like I mentioned, we also have Mercury in retrograde, which is going away very soon. Mercury will go direct the 3rd or 4th of November, something like that. So, November is going to pick up in terms of action, in terms of movement, in terms of momentum for you, where you have felt like you couldn't move. Those restrictions are going to be lifted from you. So let's have a look, see what's going on with you for the month of November. I have 3 cards for Aries. Oh, that one wanted to come out. So 8 of Wands is the first card out and it's in the reverse. That's your recent past. 2 more cards please for Aries. Tumble out. In your current environment, we have the Ace of Pentacles. I'm not starting to... We've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Hanged Man in reverse. And I feel like that's kind of speaking to exactly what I was just talking about. At the bottom of the deck, we've got the 3 of Pentacles with the 10 of Cups. So, 3 of Pentacles is my cooperation and collaboration card. 10 of Cups is about emotional fulfillment. And working together with someone, with perhaps multiple people, to achieve something that is very emotionally fulfilling. I'm going to go with the John Bauer to clarify, apparently, and there you are, right at the bottom of the deck. That's a good sign. Let's give these a quick shuffle. Shut this window, because apparently every mode of transport known to man is going past my house right now. So, tell me about the 8 of Wands in reverse, please. What is the Wands in reverse for Aries? Whoop. Fucking hell. There we go, it's alright, we're 3 minutes in now. The first card you've got is the 2 of Cups, and then I had about 50 come out together, so I'm going to put those back in. Let's try again. What is the Ace of Wands here for Aries, please? There we go, 9 of Wands. Interesting. Tell me about the Ace of Pentacles, please. Nice. We've got the King of Wands, and what are you? And the 7 of Pentacles. Awesome. Tell me about the Queen of Pentacles and the... What's this? We've got the King of Pentacles. Whoa. 2 cards there. We've got the Fool and we've got the 6 of Pentacles. I really like this for you, Aries. This is good. This is things starting to pick up. And at the bottom of this deck, we have the 8 of Wands again, but this time it's in the upright, right? So the Shadow card takes a broader kind of look at the theme that's underpinning the entire reading. And this is movement, and this is a desire to move and an ability to move. Whereas the very first card that we had was about restriction. It was about that lack of movement. Now, it can sometimes denote communication, which I always find a bit weird because it's Wands, and Wands is not the suit of communication, but it is together with the Ace of Swords. So we can think about potentially, this is the second ace that you've got on the table here. In fact, you've got a number of very interesting cards. There's the possibility of new ideas coming to you, new modes of communication, talking to people that you actually want to talk to. But perhaps being able to express what you think in a way that you haven't been able to do. Maybe the retrograde energy of Mars and Mercury has been affecting you, much like I found it affecting me. Honestly, I felt broadly the best way to get through this is to pretty much just keep my mouth shut, and that's what I have done. Not letting the contents of my head out very, very much. Because this is the thing, right? Everything's conflict at the moment, right? You open your mouth and you express an idea and somebody is jumping on you for it, right? Whether you feel like it's a justified jump or not, and let's face it, most of us are not going to think that it's particularly justified, but you can't even have an opinion about anything these days without somebody jumping on you about it in the most bizarre way. But it is what it is. Like that's what the energy's doing at the moment. So my way of getting around it is to just not say anything. So here's your recent past: a lack of movement, right? A lack of being able to live the way that you want to live, a lack of a way of communicating with people in the way that you want to communicate, for sure. But specifically, it seems like you have been struggling with a relationship, or perhaps a number of relationships, because, like I said, the first card that came out is the Two of Cups. Now, this isn't necessarily a romantic relationship at all. It's just two people who have, shared goals, shared visions, an alignment of values sometimes as a thing. And it can be, a best friend, it can be a relation, it can be a partner, but it doesn't have to be, right? And this says to me that you've kind of been struggling with person or persons in kind of getting your message across, right? There's been like a this, you say something and they take it entirely the wrong way, or somebody said something and you've taken it entirely the wrong way, and somewhere along the line there has been issues of boundaries coming up, right? Now, the important thing with this is that we've got a progression here from the Eight of Wands to the Nine. And so it feels like whatever frustrations you've been experiencing with relationships of any description at the moment, it's kind of where they're supposed to be. And part of it is supposed to get you thinking about things perhaps from a slightly different angle, right? Because I'm not saying you're wrong, but maybe there are other ways to do things than the way that you want to do them. And sometimes other people do have things to bring to the table. And but it's been tremendously frustrating for you, I feel. Because this isn't you falling out with people and going, well, fuck them, like, they're not even worth it anyway. These are important. These are important relationships to you. These are relationships where it is important that you see eye to eye, that you can work together, in fact, to achieve, nice emotional harmony. And for whatever reason, it's not been happening for you. I'll get one more card for that because I'm intrigued. One more card for the Two of Cups and the Nine of Things. King of Cups, right? We've got three kings on the board now. Now, these could be individual people, but I kind of don't think they are. I think that this is a number of different energies at play, and whether they're yours or whether there's someone else's, I'm not entirely sure, and probably you're the best person to work that one out. But the card that's come out here is the King of Cups, right? This is person or persons, unknown to me, known to you presumably, that there's a great deal of emotion attached to, right? You feel a great deal of emotion for them, they feel a great deal of emotion for you, but for some reason you've just not been communicating effectively, and one of you quite possibly feels like the other has trounced over their boundaries, right? You have not done it and I feel like it's potentially you who's transgressed somebody else's boundaries, and it's not like you've intended to do it, it's just kind of happened accidentally. But remember, the energies could flip. It could well be somebody doing it with you. There's no malice involved here. Now, the King of Cups is Scorpio. And like I said, we're in Scorpio season at the moment. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio too. It feels like there's an element here of of what you have worked on being that ability to kind of see things from other people's perspectives. And it's been a really useful exercise for you, you know, because you are at the front. It's what you do, you know, and sometimes you can bulldoze other people. Quite often that is a fear of being bulldozed yourself. So I pull it in there. But it's kind of encouraging you to be more reflective about things, right? Action isn't always required. Sometimes a bit of reflecting on what's gone before, and we've got the Judgment card at the bottom of the deck there, is more important than getting things done right in the here and now. Okay, so as we move into your current energy, we've got the Ace of Pentacles, and that is interesting because, like I said, it's not the first time we've got an ace on the table now. We had the Ace of Swords there before. And this is strictly a new opportunity, right? And it could be a new job, it could be a promotion, it could be a new house, it could be moving to a new area, it could be something like that, right? But there's a sense of the new around you at the moment. Now, if you don't have any of those things coming in, then I feel like it's you getting ready to create that opportunity for yourself. And I say that because we've got the King of Wands, which is strictly Leo, but could well indicate you, and the Seven of Pentacles here. Now, the Seven of Pentacles for me is a card that speaks about there being something in your environment, your material day-to-day life that you are not happy with, right? And that could be any one of a number of things, right? But there's something that you're not happy with. And by default, this card sort of implies that you are being very present and you are looking at everything with a fairly objective eye because you're trying to work out whether it requires more energy or less energy, right? Do I have to commit to it more or do I have to pull back from it? What is the thing here that needs to change in order to make this situation better for me, right? And on this particular card, we've got this big dark wood with huge tall trees, and this tiny little princess stood at the edge of it, kind of looking at it and not being quite sure how to navigate through. Now, I feel like this kind of carries on from the recent past energy, right? Loads and loads of energy, just like a child, ready to bound through the woods, but you don't really know which way you're going. But more importantly, you don't really know which way you want to go at this point, right? So we're kind of bringing in this reflective energy. We're looking at everything, being very present, but it's tempered by the fact that you've got the King of Wands here. Now, he is the king of action. He is the one who gets things done, right? And that's why it feels to me like you are in the process of creating some sort of new opportunity for yourself. Now, when it's the Ace of Pentacles, there is an indication that this will in some way improve your material circumstances, whether that's your home or your financial state or there's something in the day-to-day about it. It's quite tangible. And the King of Wands is kind of the king that really, I don't know, he's the one who strikes me as being the one to get things moving now. The other kings will do the same as well, but different speeds, different approaches. This is quite spontaneous, and it feels almost opportunistic, actually, Aries. It feels like in the process of working out what it is that you're not happy with, you kind of come across this new winning idea about something. And you're ready to move. Now, it's quite likely that this won't happen until Mars goes direct, right? Maybe you're ruminating on an idea at the moment, but the point to act is coming up. It's coming soon. It really is coming soon. What else? Queen of Pentacles. Now, that's not the first time that card's showing up for you. The Queen of Pentacles is Capricorn energy, right? It's cardinal Earth, and it's kind of like the Earth version of Aries, right? So where you are at the front and you're very sparky and you're getting things moving, right? You lead the way. You go there first for the fire element. So Capricorn does the same for the earth element. But more than that, the Queen of Pentacles talks to me about knowing the value of yourself, kind of treating yourself with care, nicely. And it's funny because we've got this little princess here on this wood. And then we have you looking older and wiser and, you know, a bit more rested, actually, sitting on this rock in contemplation. We have the Magician at the bottom of the deck. And we also have the Ten of Cups at the bottom of the deck. Now, the Ten of Cups came up for you before, right? Emotional fulfillment. But with the Magician energy, that is you having the capacity to be able to bring that to yourself. And it feels like you manifesting all of these things. And it's something with a big emotional component to it, right? There's an emotional fulfillment aspect to it there. But there is something really quite tangible in your material existence that's being brought in here too. Now, whether this is an idea that you have for a new business, or whether this is just about being a bit kinder to yourself, it's a little difficult to see at the moment. But there's a sense of you being guided to something. It's like you want to move because you're Aries, right? That's a fact. But Mars is retrograde, and that's kind of holding you back at the moment. But you're being guided to a point where you're going to know when it's right to move. We've got the Four of Wands at the bottom of the deck there. And when it is right for you to move, when the opportunity presents itself, you're just going to grab it with two hands. And this is very much in the present. So whether this is, like I said, something that you've been ruminating on for a little while, you're just waiting for the opportunity to show itself, or what? Whether you've just planted the seed at the moment, right? This is something that is not going to be an instant return for you. It's something that's going to take a little bit of time to grow. Four of Wands again. That's foundational energy, right? This month is about planting the seed for something, right? And I feel like you've already planted the seed, or you're in the process of planting the seed. And rather than this requiring you to take, 20 years over it or whatever, it just needs a small amount of time to percolate. And once it hits the right place, it feels like you're being guided to a position where you can just then, bounce on it straight away. Now, got an interesting set of cards for what's coming towards you here for November, because we've got more Pentacle energy, Capricorn Pentacle energy, actually, with the Queen of Pentacles there. But we've also got this Hanged Man in reverse. Now, the Hanged Man in the upright talks about, it's incredibly passive. It's about no movement whatsoever. It's about submitting to a situation. To gain enlightenment, actually, is what it is. But it can talk about delays. It can talk about frustrations. It can talk about being made to stay in a spot for a period of time. When it comes out in the upright, it is coming out of that energy, right? It's coming out of those restrictions. It's coming out of that period of being stuck because you've learned something, right? Now, I think that there's a really strong aspect here of you learning the value of yourself, right? Maybe this is the seed that's been planted with you, Aries. Like, you get a bad rap for being, incredibly arrogant sometimes. I'm just going to come out and say it because you do, right? I'm a sister fire sign. I can say this to you. I get leveled with the same accusation at times, right? But we know that that isn't necessarily true, right? There's something of the, you know, when you're least sure, be most confident, because you're always cognizant of the fact that there are people watching. There are people waiting to be led. Now, that is something that you share in common with Leo, right? Sagittarius, not so much. They don't give a flying fuck. They actually don't really want to lead that much. They want to amble. They don't want the responsibility of having to take people with them, but Leo do, and Aries do. And this feels like kind of getting in touch with that bit of you that does that important work of, you know, leading people and taking people forwards, right? But truly feeling it. Because there's something here, and I think it goes back to this. It goes back to this communication mishap that you've had with people here, where it's kind of undermined slightly your own confidence in yourself, but it wasn't designed exactly for that purpose. Like, yes, it undermined it, but it was to get you to think about it a little bit more, right? Now you have thought about it a little bit more. You're coming out the other side older and wiser and more secure in what it is that you're doing, because I feel like you're kind of listening to other people in a way that you weren't before. Now, the 3 cards that came out to clarify this are really, really interesting, because we've got the King of Pentacles. There's another fucking king, right? The Fool, which is you, really strong Aries energy. And we've got the 6 of Pentacles. Now, isn't it interesting that the 6 of Pentacles talks about balance, right? It talks about reciprocity sometimes, but it talks about give and take, right? It talks about, sometimes can talk about charity actually, but it talks about finding an equilibrium between things, right? We've always got people depicted on the 6 of Pentacles card where somebody is in need, somebody is lacking something, and then you've got somebody coming along who has excess of the thing that this other person needs, right? And the idea is there's a transference from here to here in order to bring these things into balance, right? Now, whether this refers specifically to you and the way you conduct yourself internally, or whether this speaks to a relationship around you, and it could well be that that's what it is, right? What you've done is you've elevated somebody else because you've actually taken their concerns seriously, or you've approached the way that they express themselves more circumspectly than you might have done before. Like, you might have just completely ignored what they had to say before, but because this is important to you, you've taken the time, right? So we've got that card that talks about that, and then we've got these 2 cards here which are really quite different energies, because this is, well, you know, arguably a little bit reckless sometimes, but it's like pure Aries energy, right? It's about that kind of charging forwards, right? Actually resolutely forwards. Being very spontaneous, you know, making decisions on the fly, that kind of thing. But we've also then got this Taurian energy of the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles is all about planting the seed, which is the Ace of Pentacles, right? And nurturing it, just like the Queen nurtures it, right? And taking this stepped progression, because there are no shortcuts with the Pentacles suit. That's the really important thing. Whereas with the Wand suit, it's fiery and sparky, and sometimes there are shortcuts, you know. Things can be ablaze. It feels like finding a balance between these 2. So where ordinarily you might be accused of being reckless, or you might be accused of, you know, acting before you think and stuff like that, it seems to be drawing in on this Taurus energy and even this Capricorn energy actually, and seeing what the earth element has to offer you. Now, I don't want to say necessarily that there's money coming in for you here, because I'm not really seeing that. I'm seeing the seeding of an opportunity, and then a balance between these 2 energies, allowing it to form, right? If that makes sense. There's a lot of duty and responsibility here with this card, right? And there's a long-term plan with this card. But there's also you, right? And this feels like an older and wiser and mature, enlightened version of you, that isn't just bounding down the road in front because you can, but taking all the best bits of Aries, right, and being quite considered with them. And it's all come off the back of this relationship that you initially had problems with, or have in the recent past had problems with. Definitely movement. Yeah. See, we've got the Six of Swords, which is movement, and it talks about leaving certain things behind, and it's leaving difficult situations behind, right? That's one way of looking at it. But it can sort of also talk about leaving difficult thought processes behind. You know, if you've had a bit of a dark night of the soul, no, it's not been that long, a bit of a spat with somebody, right? And you've been kind of mortified that there's a possibility of you having either hurt them or had them leave you in some way because you were at cross purposes somewhat, right? It's not a long dark night of the soul because it doesn't feel like it's lasted that long at all. But it feels like a processing has occurred, and now like you're moving away from that conflict, whatever it is. But we've got 2 3s here, which is interesting because we had the 3 of Pentacles for you as well, cooperation, collaboration, right? We've got 3 3s then, in fact. 3 of Wands, turning towards the future and acting, but not in, you know, not in a really reckless, ill-considered way. This is a slower movement for you than we're used to. Like, we've already had the 4 of Wands come out for you here. You're thinking quite clearly now about how to move forwards. This other person has given you some insight, which you are going to find really useful moving forwards, particularly here in November. Yeah. And there's the possibility of now, because you have this kind of more mature way of working with others, that they are going to assist you with whatever it is that you've planted the seed for. Because here it is again, it's come out twice now. There is something brewing for you here. You couldn't have it before because you were too wandy. You were too fiery, too sparky. You needed to pull it down a little bit and make a plan. A more longer term plan than you might ordinarily go for. But you need other people to help you do it, and that's why this occurred. Interesting. Right, I'm going to leave it there, Aries. I'm going to go over to Vimeo and do an extended one. We'll pull this apart a little bit. So if you're interested, the link is in the description box. If not, not to worry. I shall see you in mid-November, when Mars will have gone direct and Mercury will have gone direct, and everything will be, well, it'll be direct at least. I don't know if it'll be all rosy. We'll see what gives. So know that I love you all, and I'll see you very soon.